All right. Today we are going to be presenting our NUMMI case study. This is done by me, Grace Holland, and then my partner, Mylee Salenbien. Let's look at our agenda for today. We're going to look at and introduce our topic and kind of what we're talking about today. Then explain a little bit of a background of the case. We're going to evaluate the case. Then we're going to look at our proposed solutions and changes. And then we're going to look at our recommendations and how we would make those changes. And then we're going to give you our references, and then we'll be done.
Introduction. In 1984, located in Fremont, California, NUMMI was founded and jointly owned by General Motors, which is also known as GM, and Toyota. It closed its doors in April of 2010. Many issues and problems to why NUMMI failed these include toxic culture, quality concerns, market changes, labor issues, and leadership and management issues.
Let's look at a background of NUMMI and GM. So GM was founded in 1963 in California, and it employed over 7,200 workers by the end of the year of 1978, which for the time was a lot of employees to have. GM or GMC closed the Fremont plant in 1982. This was one of their manufacturing plants due to a lack of productivity. In this plant in 1983, GM and Toyota came together, signing a letter of intent and reopened the business known as NUMMI. They opened this plant and rehired the previous workers from the Fremont plant since it was the old Fremont plant. And the plant was also led by George Nano and Tony DeJesus, who were also previous leaders of the old plant. Let's look at the 5 problems of NUMMI. Our first problem is going to be toxic culture. So Fremont plant had high sick leave counts. They had slowdowns, wildcat strikes, and even sabotage. So workers were sabotaging the vehicles. They were putting even Coke bottles in the doors of the cars. So when the consumer or whoever bought the car was driving around would hear a rattling noise and then would get mad at GM in return. Daily absenteeism was almost 20%. Drug and alcoholism were all over the workforce. And then they described the old GM plant as a war. They said that you had to fight for everything. It was kind of like employees versus management. And when they tried to incorporate NUMMI, some managers, they tried to and spread the lessons of what they had learned, but it was slow and difficult, and workers weren't really receptive, and they resisted changes. And then many people at GM, the old employees and stuff, did not think that they needed to change. And when you have a majority of people not thinking they need to change, a system is not going to help with that. We're now going to look at the quality concerns of GM. So like I said earlier, workers would sabotage the quality of the vehicles. And in return, this is going to lower the quality of the vehicles that are being sold and produced. And customers did not trust GM and did not want to buy from a company that the car is not reliable. You're spending all this money. And any of the issues of the vehicles were going to be fixed later. So if there was an issue on the line, it went through the line and then they were later fixed. And I think that said there was like this yard in the back or something, and they would have to pay employees overtime to fix these vehicles, which cost GM money. And also a lot of the times they said that the vehicles would get even more destroyed because they were trying to be fixed and they just couldn't fix them. And plenty of cars were failing inspections, but management really only cared about quantity and not the quality of the vehicle being produced. So when they introduced NUMMI into their other plants, they introduced the Anden cord came with that, and these cords hung down and stopped the line, and workers were yelled at for pulling it. So they have this system, the Anden cord, this is supposed to help with quality, but then management's not enforcing it and instead yelling at their workers for doing that.
Market changes. Team members must be on board if you're going to survive and compete in today's competitive market. The system wasn't designed to squeeze people or destroy them, but to help them be competitive. At this time, the peer pressure was very intense. The employees believe that their job is to protect the customer by never shipping a bad product, and it's hard to fire people because of NUMMI. Leadership and management issues. Trends or changes might then crystallize into an issue, which is a situation that evokes the attention and concern of influential organizational publics and stakeholders. Management issues are also very common in the workplace.
So let's look at some labor issues that were happening at NUMMI. So at this time, the union was really powerful, and so it made it impossible to fire anyone. I think it even said like I can't remember who it was, but they said that you pretty much had to commit fraud to get fired at these plants. And workers could shut down the plant in any minute. If something was a problem, they'd contact the union would shut down the plant, which cost GM money. So they obviously didn't want that to happen. And absenteeism was so unbelievable. You know, it was 1 out of 5 workers were actually showing up to work. And they said on Mondays it was even worse. In lines, they could not run their lines properly on some days, which in return is decreasing productivity, costing more money because you're not producing as much. So they would even pull workers from the streets or the local bar. So you're having people who are not trained to run these machines coming and working for you so they could operate as a company. Workers were filing grievances over everything and were unhappy and unproductive. I think it was like one of the articles said that there was like 5,000 to 7,000 grievances like per day or something like that. Being filed from these GM plants. When they started the NUMMI company from that Fremont plant, they used old employees from Fremont and rehired the same union leaders. GM was against it and did not want this, but Toyota agreed with the person who was hiring these people and said that their system would make the bad workers into good ones. However, that really wasn't easy to do because these workers were so skeptical and didn't really believe in that like secret sauce that was being produced by NUMMI and didn't want to change. Let's look at evaluating the problems of NUMMI. So we're going to kind of dive deeper into those problems we just explained. I'm going to talk about toxic culture. So diving a little bit deeper, Toyota, introduced its new system to NUMMI, and this system focused on teamwork and this idea of continuously improving, which was vastly different from the old way that GM kind of ran. So it faced resistance from workers who were used to that old management style that GM used, and this caused conflicts, and that is cultivating that poor culture. Toxic culture can make or break a company's success, and for GM, the culture was very toxic. And culture is a guide to how people interact with each other, and it also plays a significant role, like I said, in an organization's success. If you have bad culture, you're going to reap kind of bad habits, bad productivity. Toxic culture causes stress, unhappiness, and lower productivity with your employees. If your employees are unhappy, then management's unhappy, and then it just kind of is a domino effect. It's hard to change culture, and that's really, really hard to change. These reasons are a lack of commitment, fear of change, lack of planning, lack of accountability, high turnover, and lack of culture alignment and recruitment. The one that stood out to me in this one was the lack of culture alignment and recruitment. I discussed in my one slide that they rehired those employees to work for NUMMI, and those employees did not have that culture alignment. They didn't want teamwork. They didn't want to change. So that's going to make it really hard to change that culture that they were wanting.
Leadership and management issues. So the definition of leadership is the accomplishment of a goal through the direction of human assistance, and a successful leader as one who can understand people's motivations and enlist employees' participation in a way that marries individual needs and interests to the group's purpose. And then the definition of management issues is an anticipatory strategic management process that helps organizations detect and respond appropriately to emerging trends or changes in the socio-political environment. These trends or changes may then crystallize into an issue, which is a situation that evokes the attention and concern of influential organizational publics and stakeholders. One example of leadership is getting a car done in a certain amount of time. And an example of management issues is not getting along with an employee.
Okay. Looking at the quality issues as an evaluation, GM had a reputation for poor quality vehicles. And by the 2000s, GM had developed a production model based on Japanese principles. And GM's quality actually did improve a lot, but at this point it was too late. They got beat by their competitors, and it kind of ultimately failed for GM for that. And managing quality plays a vital role in companies' growth and performance. It's a key role in competition between separating themselves from their competitors to customers. There's a lot of competitors for GM, like Ford. There's a lot of car companies out there. So they needed to have that higher quality and kind of beat their competitors to stay competitive in that market, or someone's just going to buy something from somewhere else like Ford. And higher quality products equal improved and increased efficiency. So when you're making quality products, you're actually being more efficient on the line, which in return is going to save that company money. Having quality products lowers companies' risk. And when you think about like recalls and liabilities, like a car company, if their vehicles are getting recalled, that's dangerous to have those on the road. And it's also a liability to have them on the road, which is a lot of like legal issues that most companies do not want to get involved in.
Market changes. More car plants began to start, and it created a competitive market. Then a recession had an enormous impact on GMC as well. Customers loved this at first, but as time went on, they began to resent it. And then GMC also created new cars. Labor issues. GM was considered to be one of the worst workforces in the car industry in the US. Not having reliable employees caused a lot of issues for GM. Good employees are a backbone to any successful company. Successful companies know and value their staff, and they create good pay and benefits. Having the underlying emphasis that your employees are valued helps promote productivity. Bad employees, such as having issues with co-workers or poor performance, can cost the company lots of money. Bad employees' lack of productivity is losing company money.
So we're going to talk about our proposed solutions that we would give NUMMI.
Set goals and standards. So we discussed SMART goals, for example, setting a time standard, setting standards just for employees when they're working there. Example, wearing certain attire like a tie or a blouse.
Another proposed solution that we had was managers meet daily with employees. A healthy company is seen through how managers behave and express values. So a proposed solution is to have managers, meet daily and talk with their employees and have a meeting. It gives daily contact with employees. You can set objectives and review important information that might be happening at, for example, it's a car plant, so what's going to be happening today at the plant, any issues that might be happening in the workday. It also gives daily contact with employees. Not all managers are going to be seeing their employees throughout the day, but if you have that one set time in the morning that you can meet with your employees, you're seeing them, and you're kind of interacting with them. You also are trying to set that common goal, which is overall just helping employees feel connected and feeling like they can be in the loop. It creates a better environment. It also keeps management in the loop. It prevents any major screw-ups, so you're able to talk through any issues that might be occurring with the employees. And this also helps with the issue of the management and leadership problems that we discussed earlier. It might just help kind of ease those and make management kind of more involved with their employees in a positive way.
Creating a positive work environment. This helps companies such as GMC. It creates a healthier workplace. It does lead to improvement. It improves branding and allows companies to become successful.
The next thing we are wanting to do is recognize and reward good performances. So praise and expressing appreciation are powerful motivators to your employees. So when we're increasing, so it increases motivation because we're showing appreciation, and it encourages a friendly competition between different coworkers, improves productivity, it boosts employee retention, and overall just creates that positive workplace that we're trying to create with the company that it didn't really have, trying to get rid of that toxic culture and creating a more positive environment. Um, GM was not a great environment, like I said, to work for, and it really would have benefited from trying to use, a reward or recognizing those good performances for their employees. And when teams are comprised of satisfied, motivated, and appreciated employees, they're going to be more positive. They're going to be more productive. It goes beyond just like a money incentive as well. You don't have to reward someone with a raise. You can reward someone with just like, other incentives, maybe I think like benefits and stuff like that. Like it's not just like giving them a raise. And also like when employees are feeling valued, they're going to return the favor and do good work for you. And yeah.
This also provides opportunity for growth. Having more experience gives you more opportunities. When GMC was hiring, they looked for people with the most experience.
So we're going to look at our recommendations and how we can make those solutions into kind of more actions. So the first one I'm going to talk about is aligning rewards with solutions. So we're going to be using kind of organizational strategy because it creates a strategic plan and it allows the company to gain a competitive advantage. So in order to do this, the company needs to differentiate the organization in some way to its competitors and establish itself as kind of that employer of choice. So the place that people want to work. When employees know that they're going to be recognized and rewarded, they're more likely to be motivated, kind of like what I talked about with the giving rewards to your employees in the other slide. We need to create like a culture that provides the guiding principles for our employees, and this will influence the employees as well. So an example that we gave was Walmart. So their guiding principle is that everyday low price. So employees are seeing that everyday low price, so they know that they need to be efficient so that the company can provide those everyday low prices. We're going to also discuss kind of like the reward strategy portion of this. So let's say a potential candidate up for the employment finds the approach used by an organization appealing, then they're going to be more likely to want to work there. So an example that we kind of give is the longevity. So let's say that the pay is based on how long a worker has been there. So the longer you're there, the higher you're paid. That shows that the company is valuing longevity and how long you're with the company. So therefore, if a employee or a possible employee is looking for a job there, they know that if they're there for the company for a certain amount of time, they're going to get paid higher. And there's really no best reward strategy. So whatever kind of works best for a company, something for GM that they could use. They're such a big company that they probably could provide good benefits and kind of set them apart with having really great benefits to their employees and giving them that. But like I said, it really just varies on the company.
SMART goals. So the definition of the SMART goals is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. GMC could have specific goals that they should achieve while working. Everyone who works for a business should be held to some type of standard. The importance of aligning goals and plans and the use of this strategy maps to also help with aligning goals.
The last one we're going to talk about is having GMC have a tuition reimbursement program. So we were talking about wanting to provide opportunities for growth for our employees at the GM company, and what's a greater way than just providing them with that opportunity to get a higher education. So it shows that you're supporting them to want beyond just GMC, or maybe to just kind of work their way up in the company. and it shows that you value your workers and what they want in the future. So a tuition reimbursement program works like this. So the employee takes classes and pays for them while the company will reimburse them for what they have paid. The program offers a chance to increase the employee's industrial knowledge and then develop advanced skills. The program also benefits the company as well. So one of them being that it reduces employee turnover and attracts additional qualified candidates to the company. And it also saves money. A Asset Tenture study found that investing in your employees will pay off. For every dollar a company spends on education assistance programs, they will save an average of $1.29 in recruiting cost, along with having a tax benefit to employers who offer this tuition reimbursement program. So they're getting that taxed benefit, and then they're also saving money and not having to kind of recruit people outside the company. They can start recruiting them from within, which also keeps your employees happy as well. It boosts employee development and they're upskilling their employees, which is nothing greater than that as a company, and they'll have a promotable staff as well. So we're going to look at our conclusion and we're going to conclude our thoughts. So to conclude, it's kind of ironic because GM, when they went bankrupt, they said that it was a better company than it had ever been. So I think it was one of the podcasts mentioned that, and I thought that that was a little ironic because it's a great company, but they ended up going bankrupt. So a big reason because of that is it took them 30 years to figure out this style and what worked best for them. And they just got run over by the competing companies. And, there's a lot of competitors out there. They didn't stay competitive, and they were just not it. The recession was kind of, in the end, kind of what took GM out. And like I said, they filed for bankruptcy, which left Toyota to run NUMMI, and that later closed in 2010. And, there were many roles that played in how this company failed. It's the toxic culture, the quality issues, the market changes, the recession, people aren't buying as much cars. So there's just a lot of roles that played into it. We did say that management was probably the biggest key role in the failure. You're looking at everything that we discussed, and we can see how, employees need managers who can guide them and get them through new systems. And employees also have to want that, but the management really needs to be the leaders and the guides for their employees. And that is our NUMMI case study. And then we have our references kind of like everywhere. So that's kind of where we got our information. But thanks for watching.